We're going to begin this morning with the latest from President Trump. He spoke to reporters just moments ago, talking about the status of this ceasefire following his announcement last night that Israel and Iran had agreed to the ceasefire.
Yeah, the president is now on his way to the NATO summit. That's what you were just seeing. It's in the Netherlands, where this conflict is expected to loom large on NATO leaders' agenda. Let's listen to some of what he had to say before leaving for the summit.
But I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. It's ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either.
We have a team with us this morning to cover this. We have former spokesperson for the U.S. mission to the UN, Hagar Shamali, standing by with analysis on this, along with NBC News International correspondent Raf Sanchez for the latest on the ground. But we begin with NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba. She's following developments from Washington. Monica, good morning. Let's start on what we just heard there from the president a few moments ago as he left for the NATO summit, really expressing that he's not happy with what he's seen from Israel. What are the key takeaways from what he had to say?
Yeah, good morning, Savannah and Joe. And just moments after that, as he boarded Marine One to head to the tarmac, he issued another warning to Israel, which I think is significant, specifically imploring them not to drop more bombs and effectively asking the pilots to turn around right now. He said, if you do it, that is to say, if you continue to drop more bombs on Iran, this is a major violation. Bring those pilots home now. So again, this is a president expressing his displeasure at the very fragile semi-ceasefire that was maybe in effect just for moments and not necessarily lasting, given the events of the last 12 hours or so. We know that President Trump spent much of yesterday trying to help broker this deal. He was working the phones while monitoring in real time what was happening with an Iranian attack on a U.S. base in Qatar, though Iran did give the U.S. a heads up in advance, so they had an ability to prepare. And as a result, there were no casualties, and the president was pleased with that, and then tried to take that opportunity to paint this as the moment that both sides could, if they agreed to, perhaps stop the fighting. But this was what is known as a phased ceasefire, and so it was meant to be that if one side stopped firing that after a certain amount of hours, then the other side would commit to do the same. But as you saw just there, the president implying what Israel is saying in their own statement, that Iran violated that with an errant missile, and that now Israel is pledging to resume their fighting. And so we're in a very, very fluid moment here, guys. And this really just speaks to the fact that the president has tried to project this idea of peace through strength. And he believed that the 3 bombs that were dropped on the nuclear sites in Iran by the U.S. on Saturday tried to really put an end to what he's trying to call the 12-day war. But there are just so many questions now about where this goes from here. And there's no clear indication that this ceasefire that didn't really take hold will hold now.
Monica, before the president stepped in front of the cameras moments ago, we had seen him over the last 12 hours talking about the ceasefire on Truth Social. That included an announcement earlier this morning saying, quote, the ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it. Despite that, we have all this back and forth that we've been talking about this morning. As the president has been sending out these messages, do we have an idea? Is he surrounded by his national security team when he's putting all this information out there?
Well, he was all day yesterday, and we do know that Steve Witkoff, his special envoy, who's been a key voice in all of this, was a major player in trying to get some of this arranged yesterday. We know that Vice President Vance, Secretary of State Rubio had also been working the phones to try to get this in place. But again, in the overnight hours, not typically, and this is, again, a president who is heading to NATO and will be joined on the plane by some of his top officials, and certainly he'll be huddling with them now as he is en route to The Hague and to the Netherlands to now continue these conversations that are going to dominate this summit, no doubt. And I think this is just a situation that is really developing moment by moment. And we didn't play this for you because we can't use this language on air. But the president, when he ended taking questions from reporters, used very colorful language to describe Iran and Israel right now, saying they don't know, expletive, what they are doing.
Monica, this conflict, of course, is expected to dominate the agenda at the NATO summit where the president's headed. What's the general feeling among NATO leaders about U.S. involvement in this conflict?
Well, remember that European officials were trying to meet with Iranian officials in Geneva just a matter of days ago to try to pursue a diplomatic solution before the U.S. went forward with those strikes in Iran. And there was still the hope of that potential path to continue to curb Iran's nuclear capabilities. So, again, the window here for some kind of diplomacy still exists. That's likely what many of these NATO allies are going to be pushing for, and that certainly will be at the top of the agenda, while the president is also going to likely try to focus a lot of the conversation on defense spending, wanting countries to commit at least 5% of their GDP to defense. That's something, remember, he's talked about time and time again. And then looming in the background to all of this, but perhaps also very key to foreign policy and what many leaders will want to discuss at NATO as well, is the continued war between Russia and Ukraine, which we expect will be part of the high-level discussions as well.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.